Three, two, one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh, the podcast where two red-pilled bros dissect, discuss, and break down all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises. How's it going, Josh?
Doing good, Jake. How you doing?
I am doing A-okay. I got stung by a wasp yesterday, but other than that, I'm prime.
You know, I don't think I've gotten stung by a bee since I was like 10 years old at summer camp.
See, my stinging yesterday, and it ties into the topic, guys, so this isn't completely off track. The stinging yesterday made me feel like I was in the Matrix, but not just that. There was a collection of things, and we'll get into that when we start talking about it. But yeah, guys, I guess the first episode is always a little messy, so the kinks will be fixed and everything. But yeah, like I said, welcome to the very first episode of Franchise Deep Dive. It is a new podcast that myself, I am Jake, and Josh is the other co-host, are starting with the idea of basically breaking down and going movie by movie in, like we said in the beginning, all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises. The idea here is to tackle everything ranging from big horror franchises like Halloween to more obscure fun ones like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and, you know, the popular trilogies like Lord of the Rings. I'm sure at some point we'll get into Star Wars and all of that great stuff, but yeah, I guess other than that, that's the podcast idea. But I guess we'll talk a little bit about ourselves. Josh, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Josh, last name Sakali. I started off kind of getting into film when I was in high school. Went to college for film, just kind of got into studying that there. Haven't really done much after that with that degree, so I don't know how useful that was, except for just give myself a little fun outlet. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, met Jake. We met at a movie theater. Shocker. Kind of just, you know, been friends for, oh shit, when was that? Like 2015?
2014, dude. So I'm doing the math.
10
years of friendship.
Wow.
That's a decent amount. That's more than a third of I think both of our lives. Neither of us are 30 yet, right?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So okay, there we go.
No, 29 here.
Yeah, I'm sitting at a clean 26, soon to be 27. I say soon to be. It's my birthday's in December. But yeah, like Josh said, I very similar boat in a lot of aspects. I got into, I always loved movies ever since I was a kid. Just anything story driven, books, like fiction books, movies, was always a big fan. Especially once me and my family started going to like the theater on Christmas every year. It became like a fun family tradition because we really didn't go to the movies too much. Part of that is because the closest movie theater is like 25 minutes from where my parents live and I grew up. That's
damn.
Yeah, dude, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. But yeah, like Josh, got into film when I was a teenager. Always wanted to write novels as a kid, and then once I got into film, wanted to be a screenwriter. Then had this like moment where I was like, I don't want to give my script to someone and then just destroy it. So then I was like, I want to be a screenwriter and director like Quentin Tarantino. Yeah, ended up going to film school, Temple University for 4 years. Got my BA in or my BFA. In theater, film, and media arts with a concentration in directing. Made a $4,000 thesis film that has not seen the light of day because it came out when COVID came out, so that was fun.
Oof.
But yeah, other than that, if you guys are watching this, or I'm sorry, listening, we're not doing video. Not yet. It's a discussion. But if you guys are listening to this over on YouTube, chances are you are listening to this on the former Film Student YouTube channel, which is my personal YouTube channel, where if you're a subscriber or if you've seen my previous content, I basically talk about movies, TV shows, video essays, breakdowns, yeah, I talk about a lot of different stuff. People seem to like my TV stuff, which is unfortunate for me because I'm more of a movie guy to begin with. But yeah, that's really me. I also have not done anything with my film degree, so that's, we're we got that in common. But yeah, I approached Josh with this idea. I don't know, a month and a half ago. It had been kind of swirling in my head for a little bit, and just he had come to visit for a little bit and sat him down and was like, "This is what I want to do. Do you want to do it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And so we, here we are. I don't know if there's much more introduction on our end that we need, unless you feel like I missed something.
Well, no, but I actually, as we were talking, I kind of wanted to ask you, just to kind of fit the theme of the show here.
Absolutely.
Growing up, what was your favorite film franchise? I haven't really thought of it myself. I kind of just started thinking of it now, so I gotta take a minute.
I'll give you two answers to give you a little more time to think. I'll give you what was my favorite as a kid, and I'll give you what my favorite was now. So my favorite as a kid was Star Wars. Biggest Star Wars fan, like uber nerd. Like I would take my toy lightsaber, my Anakin lightsaber out into my driveway or out in my yard and just reenact scenes from the movie. I would specifically every year on one day pretend to be sick and watch all 6 Star Wars movies from 1 to 6. That's 12 hours of movies. And so I was a big Star Wars fan, loved everything about it, read the books, but yeah, the movies, absolutely loved them. Yeah, not the biggest Star Wars fan these days for a couple of reasons, but we'll leave that for another day. And my favorite franchise now is Scream. And I feel like...
Really?
Oh my god, yeah. Because horror is my favorite genre as a whole. And again, if you're a viewer of my YouTube channel, former film student, you'll know that I was doing a podcast for a while that was specifically horror movie related, Scared Speechless. But yeah, I love horror films, and Scream is my favorite horror franchise, so it just makes sense. Honestly, I think I've watched that. I've watched each of those movies at least 3 to 4 times in the last year alone. It's a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are my answers. What are your favorite franchises? Is it the same as you were when you were a kid, or is it different?
Honestly, I'm trying to think back to when I was a kid, because I always watched a lot of movies growing up, but I wouldn't say I was really into film until I got a little older. So I don't know. When I was a kid, I feel like I just liked a lot of I didn't get into Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I guess Harry Potter was the closest thing to a big film franchise that I was really into.
Yeah.
But honestly, this a lot of the superhero stuff I guess I liked as a kid. I don't really know if you would classify this as there's 2 movies. So Ace Ventura, I loved. I don't know. I love those 2 movies. That I don't know if that really counts.
My rule, and I was thinking about this when we were discussing the podcast. I forgot to text you it, but my rule of thumb for this podcast is going to be any more than 2.
Okay.
Anything more than 2.
What the hell did I like Spider-Man a lot. I did like Spider-Man a lot.
Tobey Maguire?
But again, that was when I was a little older, I think.
Have you listened to
Tobey Maguire.
the Toby song off the new Eminem album?
No, I have not.
The hook is Tobey Maguire got bit by a spider, but me, it was probably a goat.
God, well, that's I'll have to give that a listen when I have.
This song is kind of good. I don't like the album as a whole, but the song is kind of.
You listen to the whole thing?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yikes.
Unfortunately. Okay, so Spider-Man, anything else that topped it? I feel like you were always a horror fan,
Yeah, I guess so. I liked Halloween, Scream. I guess I watched a good amount of the Friday the 13th too.
That was my intro to horror, was Friday the 13th. So.
I remember thinking how I thought that was top tier.
I did too. I was like, this is art. This is.
But yeah, so I guess I guess horror movies was the most I was into franchises. But that's because they were already out. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, they were still coming out. Even the Pixar movies, like Toy Story, that was coming out as I was growing up. So, yeah, I didn't really the whole Star Wars and Lord of the Rings thing I didn't get into till I just got older.
I remember when we first met, you not being in. I don't even think you had seen them at that point. possibly. Or maybe you had and you just didn't care for them. But I remember you not being a Star Wars guy when we met.
I think
when
I just
we met,
saw.
I was.
Yeah, I think
'cause
I
we-
maybe saw the first one. That's it. And even
Like
then, I
Phantom Menace or New Hope first one?
no New Hope.
New Hope, yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's fair. I think
but
it
even then, I
depends.
might not have seen them.
Are your parents Star Wars kids or
No.
Star Wars people? No.
No,
Okay,
no.
that's probably a lot to do with it because my dad is like a huge Star Wars guy. Not
Okay.
really like the new stuff, but obviously the original trilogy. So I remember I have like a vivid memory of him taking me to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters at the Regal that we worked at. Fun fact, when I was like 2005, so what was it, like 8 then? So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, this kind of fits our time.
But your favorite now is Scream. That's your favorite film
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah. If I had to put like a franchise, because to me, my favorite franchise is one that like, because people are like, oh, my favorite franchise is like Halloween, and that's fine. But for me to have a favorite franchise, I need a little bit of bingeability, and in a 1 to 2 day time frame, I could easily watch all 6 Scream. Nobody in their right fucking mind is watching 2 to 3 straight days of all the Halloween films, because by the 5th one, you're gonna want to kill yourself.
I mean, so like my favorite now, I think my favorite's still probably the Cornetto trilogy.
That's
I would
an excellent choice.
probably that one. And until recently, the Before trilogy is up there too for me. It's just like
It's so funny that you said that, because I'm currently staring at my Before trilogy Blu-ray and also the Cornetto one that I think you got me for Christmas
yeah, those two just like
or my birthday. I forget.
complete like just enjoyment from
Yeah.
start to finish. But like
I could watch both
Yeah.
of those in like a day. Like give me like a clean Sunday where I don't have to do anything. I'll start them at like 1 p.m. Order a pizza. I don't know though, cause like I don't know, no spoilers, but the third Before movie depresses me.
yeah, I mean, so I would definitely pick Cornetto for enjoyment over.
Yeah, if I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Hey, like complete side note. Last thing before we actually get into the movie that we're supposed to be talking about. But I'm having a good time anyway, so I don't care. But yeah. Now I lost my train of thought. No, what was I gonna ask you? Oh, remember when we tried to do the what is it?
Yes, I
The
do.
gold- the
Yes,
golden. We tried to do
Yep.
the Golden Mile and watch all
Yeah.
the Cornetto movies. That was
dude,
fun.
I couldn't even make it past 7 beers at that point. It was like 12 pints across the 3 movies.
Yeah, we did pints, so that was
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how many I drank, but I know that I made it halfway through Hot Fuzz and then I passed out. So
Yeah. And our friend Quinn comes over at the start of Hot Fuzz and just pounds back 8 pints before it even ends.
oh, that was, from what I remember, and I don't remember a lot. It was impressive.
Yeah. My man it beat me in 1 movie more than I could do in 2, and then I was done after like 7.
Oh, he's a tank. He's a tank for sure. Killed those. But anyway, guys, now we can start talking about what we are here to talk about. So when again approaching Josh about this, we were kind of discussing what we should do for our first franchise to break down, and it was a shared kind of concept that, hey, let's do a franchise that doesn't have a lot of movies, because we're going to be breaking down episodes in different ways depending on how many movies are in the franchise, because we are going to be at the current time releasing every other week, and we don't want an entire franchise, something like Halloween or Harry Potter, to take up 2-3 months of our release schedule. So those are going to be episodes where we maybe talk about 3, maybe even 4 movies an episode. And we're going to try out that format and see if it works. If not, we'll have to shift things up, but we'll see how it all goes. It's all about, finding a problem, solving it. But we thought The Matrix was kind of a perfect solution. Well, I don't know, because my original hope was to do Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but I guess that's not popular enough. Fine. We will do that one day. But yeah, so we decided The Matrix was a great way to start. 4 movies, so we're going to be doing 2 episodes. This first episode you're listening to now is going to be covering The Matrix and The Matrix Reloaded, and then episode 2, which will release 2 weeks from now when you are hearing this, is going to be Matrix, what's the third one called? Revolutions.
Yeah, Revolutions.
Matrix Revolutions and Matrix Resurrections, the third and fourth films in the series. We're not going to be talking about the Animatrix. We're just sticking to the live action films as for right now. But yeah,
what's with the sequel with the sequels with the R words? Like, what's with the R theme?
dude, that's a big problem with not just this franchise, but like any movie franchise or even game franchises. Stop naming your sequels something with R. Revolutions, Resurrections,
Yeah.
Regenerations, like it's nauseating, and it's like
Reloaded works. I get Reloaded, but Revolution's fine. And the Resurrection, I mean, I don't know. It just seems forced, and we're trying to just like find any RE word. It's RE. It's not even like an R word. It's
no,
RE.
yeah. It's just the same word, but like different.
Right.
It just reeks of generic bullshit. I don't know.
Right.
Let's find the most generic word and just throw it in there. I would have rather them just called them like Matrix 2 and 3. I'm fine with that. Just
sometimes
do that.
sometimes the numbers are just better.
Yeah, like, and I'm not gonna say there's not good subtitle. Like, you know, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, great name. I like that. That's fine. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to be talking about the Matrix 1 and 2 today. I don't know, Josh, if you want to maybe set the stage for the first Matrix film, and then we can get into discussing it. By the way, guys, the way that we're going to be breaking it down is we're going to be discussing the first film and the second film, and then kind of just comparing the two, discussing the differences, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then just kind of where the franchise is at that point before the third and fourth films, and how we feel going forward. We'll give you our scores, and then we'll wrap this John up.
Yeah, so Matrix 1999, this was the first time I really watched it since I was a kid. So it really felt like I was going into it for the first time. So sci-fi action flick, trying to really think of like what came before this that kind of tackled both those genres that were like and I could just be blanking, but I know this one had a lot to do with just like kind of defining like sci-fi action a lot. So you know, a lot of movies after this took from like its style or just, you know, a lot of themes they brought into play, which I mean themes that have been tackled before, but kind of like encompassing all with like sci-fi and action together. It feels like this was like a really like a big benchmark film. So especially the start of the new century, this just had a lot of impact in cinema in general. So it felt really cool to just go into it like with, it feels like a fresh set of eyes. So you know, I don't know what your experience is with this movie as you like kind of watched it, because I know you watched it throughout your life, I feel like the first one at least. So a lot of things I love about it. I mean, like I feel like there's not too much to like, you know, dislike about this. I have some things to say about it, but I mean pretty much across the board, just like not flawless, but very, very like, especially like technological, just completely like almost perfect in terms of just like technical achievement. Oh
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great introduction to the movie and the franchise as a whole. I'll give before I get into like my, I guess, history with the movie, and then we can just get into the full-on discussion. I want to point out that the film is made by the Wachowskis. The Wachowskis are, and we'll just bring it up this one time. No need to delve into it too much. Actually, I do have some points about it that I think are kind of interesting. But the Wachowskis are now trans. They are trans women. At the time, I believe it's Andy. It was Andy and something else. They are now trans, which is cool. And you know, it's interesting because I actually, when watching some video essays, I saw some interesting kind of threads that were woven into the Matrix movies, and actually a pretty cool trivia fact that may even tie into it. But this whole kind of concept of what you're experiencing isn't actually a reality is kind of an interesting through point. So just wanted to bring that up, mention that, but it has no impact on the qualities of the movie. But as far as the first Matrix goes, like you said, I watched it growing up throughout my life. And one thing that's interesting, especially since we're talking about not only the first Matrix, but Matrix Reloaded, is that growing up, I always distinctly remember in my parents' like TV stand, we had like one of those just like kind of wooden ones with like the glass windows on the sides, and in the sides you could always see the few DVDs that we had, because my parents aren't the biggest movie people. Like my dad does enjoy a lot of movies, especially from like when he was growing up, so like 70s and 80s movies, but and even some 90s stuff. But my mom's not the biggest movie person, so like they don't collect DVDs or Blu-rays or anything like that. But I always distinctly remember seeing them. For some reason, we had The Matrix Reloaded on DVD, just like always just sitting there. And I always remember like when I would go through like the movies and just to see what we had and see what I wanted to watch and stuff, I always distinctly remember looking at the cover of it, and I always just thought, wow, they just look so damn cool with the leather, like the dark black leather and the sunglasses and just like these awesome like just stances. Like they just looked so badass. Didn't know what the movies were about, but was always intrigued by that cover. And then obviously when I started getting into films and really looking, not just watching like what my parents were or just watching what I could find on TV, but actually like going through the active search of like looking up what are the movies that people love throughout history. And obviously you stumble upon The Matrix, hailed as like a sci-fi classic, an action classic, really, like you said, revolutionary film, defined the genre for a really long time, and even to this day is seen as, like I said, a classic of the genre. So watched it and just fell in love. Like it just, everything about that movie. And when you're a kid, nothing really seems that goofy to you. So, and we'll get into it more when we discuss the movie. There are some goofy elements of the first Matrix, and I'm sure that's where some of your criticisms probably lie. And I'll fully give you that. However, as a kid, you're sucked into how awesome everything is, and it just, there's so much that's interesting. Like as an adult watching it, because when you're a kid you just really suck into the action. You're just impressed by the action and the cool costumes and all of the cool kung fu elements, and you're just enamored by all of it. But as an adult, when you watch it, obviously you kind of appreciate the more philosophical thinking pieces, thought elements that the film kind of projects out, and you absorb those a little bit more. And I don't know, it just makes the experience all around really enjoyable, because there's so many films that you watch as a kid and you're like, this is amazing, and you watch as an adult and you're like, this is terrible, and children are dumb. But this is not one of those movies for me. I think it holds up extremely well. Obviously I was alive when it came out, but I was 2 years old, so that has no impact. But yeah, watching it throughout my life, I have probably seen it at least 7 or 8 times, maybe more, maybe a little less, I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of my history with it. I enjoy the hell out of this movie. I feel like
one thing that always stuck out to me, I was always very, not very, but like Agent Smith, Hugo Weaving, always scared me. Just always. Yeah.
He's terrifying.
That's like the main thing I remember from this movie as a kid. And like, I guess like the flying bullets, like those two things I just remember from this movie. Yeah.
The bullet time. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, dude. Just the way, like you brought up Hugo Weaving, and like half of my notes are just about how great Hugo Weaving is in this. Like just his Mr. Anderson. It is just the way he delivers it in that monotone, and it works with obviously the premise of the film. He is like a computer program, but just the way he delivers that line is, I think, excellent. And it, like, I don't know, everything he says is so intimidating. I actually wrote down, opening scene is amazing. I think it hooks you pretty immediately.
It just throws you into adrenaline right away.
Immediately. And, all right, so I'm going to say this now, guys. Full spoilers for the first Matrix and Matrix Reloaded. So if you haven't seen either of those films, please go watch those. Or if you don't care about spoilers, continue listening. You find out in the film that one of the characters, I don't know how to say his last name, but his character in the film, Cypher, one of the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar, the ship that Morbius, right? No, Mobius? Morpheus. There's too many names.
I was like, you thinking about Jared Leto?
Well, I always have Jared Leto on the mind, of course. I love 30 Seconds to Mars. I don't actually. That's not true in the slightest. But no, Morpheus, right? His crew that he runs. There's a character, Cypher, played by Ralphie from The Sopranos, and he's also in Memento. I think his name's like Pantoliano. I don't know.
That sounds close.
Joey
that sounds
Pants.
Close.
Joey Pants. He is a traitor. He turns on the humans. He turns on his crew to help the agents and help the people who behind the Matrix destroy Neo, destroy the crew and their hope. What I love about when the film opens is you hear a bit of dialogue as we zoom in on the code of the Matrix, the iconic green code of the Matrix. And as you're zooming in, you hear a line, and it's Cypher, and he's saying, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be here." And she responds, "I know, I wanted a shift." And immediately, when you go in, you see Trinity. The cops arrive. You're like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know what's happening. She's got her face turned away. They threaten her. She's badass. Who arrives on the scene? Agent Smith, played by Hugo Weaving, like you said. And the cop's like, "We got our guys up there," or whatever he says. And one of my favorite lines in the movie, and such a great way to introduce a character, Hugo Weaving just looks at him in the most deadpan way, says, "Your men are already dead." And in harsh cut, and just an amazing action scene kicks off. Really, like you said, puts you into it at the beginning of the movie, and it just sets the tone. And say what you want, I think more importantly in a film, the way you end a film is more important, but the way you start a film cannot be understated.
Agreed. Well, you said how much you like Hugo Weaving. Would you say he's like your not breakout, but like your star of the movie, or would you put him above Morpheus?
I think it's tough because I like, man, Lawrence Fishburne is so fucking good in this movie, and we'll talk about it more when we get to the second film. But in the first film, you never get to see him with his shirt off, but in the second film, you do.
Oh yeah,
and he is yoked, like he is so jacked.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I wasn't expecting a six-pack on him.
Oh my god, he is like shredded in that second movie. But in the first film, he is so badass, so cool, and I feel like such a bro. It's so funny because so many of my friends think I'm a pretentious film person, and here I am just saying like everything's awesome and badass, like I'm a 16-year-old person who likes Zack Snyder movies. But no, they're really, like, Morpheus is such a great character, and his build up is so great. They do a great job of, like I said, building him up before you even meet him, and then when you do, it's just that amazing pill scene that like everybody to this day. I have a quick question that's completely gonna derail this, but I don't care. Do you feel like with social media now, some influencers have ruined the movie because of the term "The Matrix" and the red pill?
Honestly, I feel like I'm not even like up to date on some of that. Like I didn't even know that was a thing.
Like that's like the Andrew Tates of the world that are like, dude, you got to break out of the Matrix, man. Like all of those like social media bros were like, you got to break out of the Matrix, man.
Oh my god, I didn't even know that was a thing. That makes me, I don't know. It's fine.
No,
it's whatever.
There's people who genuinely take it seriously.
What's the why did that become? When did that become a thing?
After the Matrix. It's just more prominent now because of like obviously social media. Anybody can just turn their phone on and record bullshit. But I was thinking about that as I was watching the movie. Every time they said like, take the red pill, or like, we're in the Matrix, I was like, all I can see are these social media guys.
I'm gonna have to look those up now. I gotta
dive into that rabbit hole. Which is the theme of this movie, and I wanted to ask you about that because, like I mentioned, as a kid, you're enamored by all the action and the cool action sequences, and we can break those down a little bit because I have some cool trivia and tidbits about those. But the more philosophical stuff in the film, there is several references to like Alice in Wonderland in this film, and I feel like, yeah, maybe they kind of really go for it because it's not just like one subtle reference. They really kind of hammer it in, but I think I don't know, it works for the movie in my opinion. Like I think it is a strong metaphor. Like I love that scene with Morpheus and Neo where he's like, take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and you see how far the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, like, do you think it might, like, I know you like it, but do you think it might be a little, like, heavy-handed sometimes? Like, it's, like, shoving it down your throat too much? I don't. I think it's fine. I'd be fine if it was, like, someone, like, I could do without that. Like, it's like, I get it, but for me, it's fine. Like, I don't really care about that.
Yeah, I was going to agree with that. I'm fine with it, but it's one of those, because I'll be honest, I saw your Letterboxd review, or I didn't see your review. I saw your score, and we'll get into it. I think it's a little low. I'm not, like, completely disrespected by it, but I think it's a little low. And so I was trying to, in my head, kind of think of where your criticisms could lie, and I was thinking maybe some of the kind of heavy-handed philosophical stuff, like, oh, you're stuck in the Matrix, like choose this pill, the Alice in Wonderland stuff. I was wondering if that was going to rub you the wrong way.
No, not at all. It wasn't even that.
Okay.
It's what's funny is I looked at your Letterboxd score and I couldn't help but wonder, are you just not taking any criticisms with this movie? And we'll get into that too.
I do not give this film a perfect score, so.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you looked at one of my old Matrix scores, because it's not perfect.
Oh, maybe.
But
okay.
I do have some criticisms with the film, and I'll start off with a big one because I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Okay.
I think he seems like maybe the sweetest, kindest man on earth, but Keanu Reeves is not a very good actor in this film.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of like the obvious one is that, like, everyone kind of knows Keanu's not a good actor. I don't really. It's not even like their fault all the time. I feel like some of the characters just are not fleshed out, and I don't, it's like, I know you can't flesh out everybody, but even I like Trinity, but maybe it's because I don't really care for the romance portion of this. I just don't believe it. I don't buy into it. It's so abrupt out of nowhere. She's like, she's a badass fighting in every scene, and all of a sudden he's like the love of her life, and I don't really get where that even came from.
See, I'm fine with that, and I'll have a reason why. Sorry, I'll let you finish your thought, but I have a reason why I think it works.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not to mention I'm just not sold on them, like, just kind of like being soulmates, but I'm just not sold on, like, the chemistry between them. So that's my thing is it's also that like Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving, I think are very good in this movie.
Oh,
everyone else is kind of just like standard. It just feels like just like baseline, nothing too special in the acting realm besides those two for me.
See, and I think that's where our scores may differ, and our kind of feelings on this film is because, not to the same exact level, but a film that I think you love and I also love, is this film very much reminds me of the first Alien, in the way that, are all the characters in that movie fleshed out? No. I don't really know much about the one female character. I don't really know much about Kane. He's got the iconic death and everything. But they do just enough, and I think the characters have just enough personality to where they're all at least memorable. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I didn't write any of their names down, and I feel like I could name every character in this film, like all of the crew. Because you got APOC, Tank, Dozer, Morpheus, Trinity, Neo, Cypher, and the only one I can't remember is the young kid, the coder who, like, has the scene with Neo. I don't know how you feel about that scene. And that scene actually is what reminded me of Alien, when they're all just sitting down eating together. Obviously the parallels, they're both eating, but I love that he has that interaction with Neo where he's like, what did you think of that girl in the red dress? I designed her, and if you really want, I can get you alone with her. And he's kind of like this little horny guy. I don't know. I dug it. Apologies, listeners, for a small technical difficulty there. Audacity is a punk, and we do not like it. Yeah, guys, we were talking about the characters. One of the characters I forgot to mention, I believe their name is Switch, the one that has the blondish hair and wears the white outfit.
Oh yeah.
So this is the trivia fact I have. I don't know if you've read about this, but it's actually pretty interesting, and it's one of the things that I wanted to talk about when I mentioned how the Wachowskis transitioned. Is that in the original draft of the script, the character of Switch would have a different gender outside of the Matrix than they did inside of the Matrix, but the studio was not about that. And so I thought that just
I
was
did not
kind of
read that.
interesting. Yeah, I read about that, and I thought that was kind of interesting. And it's one of those kind of through points that, is kind of interesting to look back upon, in retrospect. Whether it was intentional or not, who knows? Only the Wachowskis would have that kind of knowledge. But no, other than that, yeah, I just think that this film does a really solid job of, even if every character is not fleshed out, I like every character in this film. I think they all have just enough. They have even just small character moments, like the scene with the kid talking to Neo about the red dress. The way that one of the things that I've always remembered is that Tank, I think Tank is the younger of the two brothers between Tank and Dozer, the one who survives the film. The way he says, it's very exciting. Like, the way he delivers that has always been like ingrained in my brain. I don't know why. It's just like a unique delivery, but I don't know. I like the characters.
So yeah, I mean, what you were saying about like comparing it to like Alien, how like they're not fleshed out either, and they don't need to be. I agree that. I'm not saying Matrix needs to take time to flesh everyone out. So it's not really that. It's kind of just like it's more so either believability in what they're giving me. So, you're giving me romance, but it comes out of nowhere. And that's where I get taken out of it a little bit. It doesn't feel justified. It kind of just feels like shoehorned in, kind of like because it maybe they feel like it needs to be there. And it's fine if it's there, but it just feels out of nowhere to me. And yeah, I mean, Keanu can always be a little, he could be a little better, whatever.
I think he's a lot stronger as an actor in the John Wick movies than he is in these Matrix films.
Yeah, and even John Wick, like I love the John Wick movies. Even then, I feel like he sometimes
yeah. But no, yeah, I really do. I do think he's a lot better in the John Wick movies, and maybe it's just because they write him a little bit better than they do Neo. Not that Neo's a bad character, but I think in John Wick they play more to Keanu's strengths as an actor. They limit his dialogue. I don't know. It just works better.
They kind of know what he can give, and so yeah, it's and it's kind of a nitpick. It's not like a thing that really like dampers the film.
Would you say it hurts your score of it? Because it actually, one of the things, if I'm gonna take away like any points from this film, it is, I think Keanu is, and it's because he's noticeably weaker than everyone around him. Like when he's in scenes with Carrie Ann Moss as Trinity, she's way better. Morpheus, way better, and obviously Hugo. Like
it affects it a little bit. Like it's not like a tiny nitpick. It's still like a justifiable thing to like bog down a film a little bit, but it doesn't. There's so many great things about this movie that it does like. So it's like a minor thing.
They make up
because no one's terrible in this. Like Keanu's not terrible.
No,
he's just limited.
He's serviceable.
He's just limited.
Yeah, he works just enough, but yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. To me, like what stands out is when I'm like taking notes while I'm watching the film, because this is obviously the first time I've ever talked about it with the intention of talking about it in like a podcast format. So obviously you're paying attention to things more. One thing that I noticed about this is that when I'm looking at my notes, every time I'm like writing down a quote from another character, it's always like a really, really cool, awesome line. Like here, I have Morpheus, born into a prison you can't taste or smell or touch. Great line. Excellent. The way he delivers it, fantastic. I already, like, it's so simple, but the way that, Hugo Weaving says, Mr. Anderson. It's just like there's everything, like, I don't know, it all works. And then when I look at like the stuff that I'm writing down for Neo's character, I have, what's the first Neo line that I wrote down? Oh, I wrote, no way, this is crazy. Because there's like a really well done scene, and they mimic the scene in Everything Everywhere All at Once, but it's the scene when he gets the call from Morpheus when the agents are coming to get him at his office when he's still inside the Matrix. And they're giving him like directions where to go and like where to hide, where the exits are, and all of that stuff. And which it doesn't matter because he ultimately gets caught anyway. But like right before he like decides to go outside on the window onto like the whatever, outside the building, he's like, "What? No way! No way! No way! This is crazy! This isn't happening! It's not me! Why did I do this?" It's so goofy, and like I know that's like kind of like the joke with Keanu, whether he's playing like a surfer bro in Point Break or his entire character in Bill and Ted, but like I don't know, in this movie, which to be fair, I think knows it's silly, but still takes itself very seriously. There moments like that are a little bit. If there are any that take me out of the experience, it's those ones.
Do you ever think the movie takes itself too seriously? Does it like?
Yes, but it's hard to say that in retrospect because if I had seen it in 1999, maybe I would say something different. But yeah,
Right.
like you said, there are times where like the metaphors and the philosophical stuff get very heavy-handed, and I never think it's like overly complicated stuff. And maybe again, that's because like I live in 2024 and like my current brain is like, yeah, I understand the concept of being in a simulation and the Matrix and all that stuff because it has been so explored. But maybe, hey, it's 1999 and I'm the same age and I'm like, whoa, this is really like high intelligent, high flying stuff. Like, and I don't know if you delved into any of these trivia facts, but I was reading that I think two actors didn't understand the script. I think Will Smith, who turned down the role of Neo and would go on to instead star in Wild Wild West.
Yeah, because this was Men in Black was like a couple years before this.
Yeah, and he actually had mentioned that in the film, I believe. He said, "Oh, I did Independence Day," or it was an interview with Will Smith. He said, "I did Independence Day and I did Men in Black." He's like, "I don't want to just be known as the alien guy." Which I get. You want to, be a diverse actor. I don't know if Wild Wild West was the best idea. But he actually credits it to being the only role in his career that he turned down that he actually truly regrets. But he also, and I kind of respected him for this, he also had like the knowledge and the hindsight to say, but Keanu was perfect for the role. And he said, and this was actually interesting, that if they would have cast him, that the choice for Morpheus would have been Val Kilmer instead of Lawrence Fishburne. That
I wouldn't have liked it.
No, because Lawrence Fishburne's like perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, here's a question I have, and it kind of like it's almost distracting in like a playful way. How the hell do his glasses stay on? Like, do we know? Like, is
While
there
he's
like
fighting?
any like? I mean, yeah. That
Are we talking
especially.
about? Are we talking about Neo?
No, Morpheus.
Oh.
The like
I have a good answer for you.
they're just lenses.
No, the trick is in not trying to keep the glasses on, but realizing that the glasses do not exist.
Yeah.
Which can we talk about? Because I love that scene. Obviously, I'm referencing the scene with the spoon where he goes to visit the Oracle, and I want to ask your thoughts on it before I like divulge how I feel about it. Which I already spoiled. I like this scene a lot, but how do you feel about the whole inclusion and implementation of the Oracle character in the film? Because I could see it turning some people off.
So I actually forgot to mention her. I like her in this movie. So she's also like in the scene she's in, she's very good. It's kind of, I guess when I was like first watching it, I was kind of confused at her kind of discrediting him and saying he's not the one, knowing that he is. I don't know if that was like a thing where she was like, he has to, like she was just bullshitting him and saying he has to like discover that himself. I can't tell him he is. But no, I had no issue with that scene. Do people normally have like they don't like that scene or?
No, but I just feel like it may be like a trope in sci-fi that can turn some people off to like this character that just like is this all-knowing, omnipotent figure.
So why isn't
yeah.
she? I'm kind of confused. Why is she not like kind of integrated more in their rebellion? She seems like a very like valuable asset.
Well,
I don't know, like
I don't want to talk about it yet because it's more in the second one, but I feel like they explain it in the second one
maybe
more.
I just kind of forgot already. I don't know. I'll get into the
fair.
second one because I feel like there's a lot in there that they throw at you, and it just
There's a lot to break down in that movie. But one thing I wanted to mention in this one, because we haven't really talked about it yet, but it's probably the most prominent and timeless aspect of the film, the one that catches the casual eye, and that is the action in the movie. Budget, $63 million, which for a movie this size and this grand of a scale, pretty modest. Box office, $467 million.
damn. I had no idea. I had no idea it was that big.
Yeah, I believe if my memory suits me, when I was doing my research, I think it was the third highest grossing film of 1999 behind, I believe Phantom Menace was at 1 and Toy Story was at 2, or maybe it was Toy Story 2. Whichever one came out in Toy Story 2, so 1999. So competing with Star Wars and the sequel to like the Pixar movie is, it's
do you know
impressive.
Do you have what the opening weekend made? Okay.
No.
I don't either. I can actually,
don't.
I wonder if I could pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know because I feel like this is a word of mouth movie. Like this is not, because it's an original sci-fi concept, in a time when obviously sequels and prequels were dominating the box office.
Let me see here. I think they usually give opening weekend on IMDb, don't they? Or do they just give total opening weekend? US and Canada.
Yeah.
27 million.
That's not that much.
So
it really exploded in popularity after everybody. And dude, imagine being in 1999 and like, I don't know, just everybody talking like, dude, have you seen The Matrix?
The gross in US and Canada total is 172 million.
So it did wonders worldwide. I could see this being huge I'd wonder what it would make in like Asian countries, because it's been stated in like all over anything you read about the Matrix backstory and history that the Wachowskis were heavily influenced by old Hong Kong action flicks that used a lot of wire work, and also Japanese animation like anime and stuff and manga. Like it's obvious if you've like watched anime and if you've seen any of those Hong Kong films, like how influential they were on this movie.
And even the like choreography and the fight scenes, like you could just feel the like influence there with like, I mean, so it's all over the place with that. I mean, 300 million outside of 300 million extra outside of the US. That's crazy.
That's insane numbers, and especially like 1999.
Yeah.
Like I wonder what like the inflation, like if you like adjust for inflation, what
I think
what
it's
the
like
numbers
double
look like
at that time period. I think it's like double.
Wow, that'd be nearing like 900 mil. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean overall the action, like I want to ask you, do you have a particularly favorite action scene in the film? Because I think I do.
I wish I wrote that down. I gotta try to like think. No, yeah.
If you don't, I'll give you time to think.
I'm trying to think of all the the subway scene probably, like
the final, like when Neo becomes the one.
Yeah, honestly, even before they like get in the house part of it, like just like that subway fight. That probably is
the subway scene is great. For me, dude, that subway fight is so incredible. Like it's like that final confrontation. But no, my favorite for me is Morpheus and Agent Smith in the bathroom.
Really?
Because so the movie has like all of this like super graceful, flawless action that's so clean and crisp and precise. And then you get to the fight with Morpheus and Agent Smith, and it's like in this bathroom, and they are just beating the shit out of each other. And one thing that I found interesting that I think applies to this scene is that the fight choreographer of the first Matrix film, he said that he wanted to design each character's fighting style after the actor's actual physique and capabilities, like as a martial artist. And so I think he said with Morpheus it was resilience, with Hugo Weaving it was precision, and with Carrie Ann Moss it was like her feminine grace. And you really see that when all these characters fight. Like, you see in this fight scene, like, Morpheus is fighting an agent, and again, the way, like, similar to the way they build up Morpheus's character, the way they build up the agents in this movie is phenomenal writing, in my opinion, because the way that they talk about them, and it's something they kind of go back on, like, I feel like in the sequel, but when you're watching the first film for the first time and you're experiencing it, the way they build up these agents and they describe them is basically, if you meet them in combat, you die. Cypher tells Neo, if you see them, do what everybody else has done. I don't care if Morpheus thinks you're the one, you run. And it's such a great build up. And there's only 3 of them in the movie. It's just Agent Smith and the other 2. But they have such an impact in every scene. And so when you finally get that first confrontation of Morpheus fighting Agent Smith, it's so awesome. They're beating the shit out of each other. Tiles are breaking. They're getting dust all over them. They're bleeding. They're sweaty. It's so, like, vigorous. Like, I don't know. I love it.
So let me ask you this then, because this kind of goes into another issue I have, and it's like, how do you feel about the incorporation with, like, all the guns? Is it too much?
No, I love it. Love it. I love it because, unlike, and again, we're getting more into the sequel, which I guess we could probably wrap up the first Matrix in a couple minutes and go on to the second one. But in the first Matrix, even the more bombastic, outrageous action still has like a level of groundedness to it. And I get what I'm saying is kind of ironic because I don't think there's a scene in cinema history where more bullets have been fired in a single scene than when Neo and Trinity go in to get Morpheus.
Yeah,
like,
is it when Neo has the fucking like big ass machine gun and is it that one?
That whole sequence when they first enter and they it's right after I think it's Tank. He's like, what do you need? And he's like, guns, a lot of them. And there's just like, they like enter the Matrix and there's like just like rows and rows and rows of guns and they're just grabbing everything in sight. And then they go to the building that Morpheus is being held in and they just start blasting everything in sight. Neo's doing backflips and side flicks. Like, it's awesome. Every part of that scene is awesome.
I think the hand-to-hand combat is so well done that I just wish they didn't like result to like, because it feels like why do any hand-to-hand combat, like, and then the next scene is just like thousands of bullets being just like generated. I don't know, it just felt like it felt a little cheap to me. Like,
That's
I don't know,
fair.
it's because there's so much time building to like the physical combat, and then it's like, give me all these guns like it's John Wick. Like that feels good for John Wick. It doesn't feel as good for Matrix. It doesn't feel as like rewarding. You know, I don't know, because there's not a lot of they don't put a lot of attention on like weaponry, like in like practicing your like, I don't know. It's more of like just hand to hand stuff, and then so like, but I don't know. It feels, I don't know.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is that scene badass? Yes or no?
Yeah, of course it's fucking badass. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. And one thing that really helps the scene, in my opinion, and it's just a testament to the actors and the stunt choreography and all of that stuff and just all of the planning and set design, is, like I said, unlike the sequel, it still has a layer of groundedness to it. It's over the top, but when bullets are hitting the wall and hitting the ground, pieces of debris are flying everywhere. When Neo, because I don't know if you're misremembering a little bit, but they do start out with a lot of guns, but towards the end, they do fight them hand to hand. Like, there's a couple kicks and punches thrown in there.
I know.
And one thing that's really cool is, and I think you can really tell in this film, is that all of the hand-to-hand fight sequences and all of the action sequences were like 98% done by the actual actors. That's Keanu Reeves attached to a wire doing that combat. That's Carrie Ann Moss like you can look at the behind the scenes documentaries, and there's a ton of them out there, and the behind the scenes featurettes and stuff, and you could see it's actually them doing these stunts. So it's really impressive, I think, just to like see the effort that was actually put into it.
I'm fine with some of the handguns when he's in the helicopter with like the big chain like machine gun. Like,
I had
it's a
one
lot.
issue.
It's a lot.
I had one issue with that scene. It is a lot. I had one issue with that scene, and that is they're kind of close. They're in the helicopter, and he's got like the big ass machine gun, and like you said, they're just ripping bullets. Morpheus is strapped to a chair, and that does not look like the most accurate gun. Like, he could have very easily shredded Morpheus to pieces.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but how is everybody such a terrible fucking shot? You have all this skill with no one can hit anybody. So like, maybe that's another reason why I don't like how many guns are in this, because no one's hitting anybody with them. I don't know how. It's like the most skilled fighters.
That's not true. Trinity sneaks up behind an agent and shoots him in the head.
Well, yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it only
sneaks up behind him, dodge this.
Only took a few thousand bullets to finally hit one. You know, whatever.
Is it too ridiculous for you when Neo dodges the bullets?
When on the rooftop, or when he's like
yeah, on the rooftop. Okay, so
no,
back
that's
to back
good.
questions.
No, I like that.
Okay, how do you feel when he stops the bullets in midair with his hand?
Do they tell, like, because like the rules, like, I don't know, like, he's the one, I get it, but like, how does he get that ability to do that? You know, I don't.
So. I think it goes back to the spoon scene. If I'm breaking down how like the film structures it, they're constantly telling you, and I think the implementation of the Oracle and everything that Neo is told. Like, one thing that I think is really spectacular, and I've only caught this on this viewing, is that when Neo is sparring with Morpheus for the first time, and at first Neo's getting his ass kind of kicked, and he gets knocked to the ground, and Morpheus is like, do you really think, like, why did I beat you? And he's like, you're stronger and faster. He's like, do you really think it's because I'm stronger and faster? He's like, or is it because, and then I forget exactly what he says, but it boils down to,
he says, do you really think is that air you're breathing?
Is that air you're breathing? And which is a great line and a great thematic message in the film when you're talking about being in the Matrix. But what I noticed is that after that entire fight scene, like, right, they're both like fighting, you know, putting a lot of energy into it, and you see Keanu and he's really breathing heavy. When Morpheus delivers that line, he is so calm, collected, and isn't breathing heavy at all. Like, you can't even tell that he's like has a breath. Like, it's just calm, collected. And it's just infusing that message into Neo. And I think it's exactly what you said earlier when you were talking about the Oracle. She told him what he needed to hear. If she would have told him if she would have said right there, you're the one, I don't think he would have bought into it. But I think her telling him essentially, you're not going to be the one until you believe that you're the one, I think is great. And I think it's a really good setup and payoff for that final fight scene in the subway and ultimately in the house.
Why doesn't anybody in like in the rebellion have that ability then? If Morpheus is saying, like, you have to like understand where you are, you're not limited to like be like,
I think that's just what makes Neo special as a character. Like, I am not always the biggest fan of prophecy stories, but in this sort of setting and the way they structure it in this film, I do think it works. Like, it's just, that's Neo. Like, Neo is the one because he's the only one who has no limitations when it comes to the Matrix. And we'll get into it more in the second film, but there's a little bit of a reason behind that.
So there's like a couple more things I want to talk about, because we didn't really talk about cinematography at all, and I feel like that's like a big standout for this movie.
I would love to break into that. It's beautifully shot.
Do you have any, like, I feel like there's like an obvious one that's like
the best shot in the movie.
Yeah.
The reflection in the sunglasses.
So okay, so that one, but no, I'd like the tunnel with the rain coming down, where it's when Trinity picks him up, and takes the bug out of his stomach. It's like right that silhouetted shot, wide shot of like, you know, him under the tunnel with the rain. It's beautifully lit, but I was trying to like, you know, I was like looking at some like dissections of like cinematography. This one person brought up the window cleaning, and they were like talking about like how that's like symbolic to them at least. And it was like, if you look at that scene with the suds and they like wipe it clean and it's like a clear shot of Neo, they were like that's like, you know, his blurred reality is finally getting like wiped clean and he can like see everything clearly. But so with the tunnel, I was like, so that rain coming down, it kind of looks like the raining Matrix code, sort of. Now it's probably a reach, but look at that shot again. Look at that scene, and he's like standing in front of it.
No, I like that.
And so yeah, that's when I was like kind of like trying to like dissect it more. I was like, that's kind of what I came up with. So I don't know if it makes me just like the shot more, but like it looks like that. And
even if there's no thematic relevance, which I don't know, that's actually pretty sick. If that's intentional, like that they like did that to like match the Matrix code, that's incredible. But even without it, like you said, it's just a super well framed, composed, and lit shot, like all around.
But yeah, the red pill, blue pill is also a great shot with the lens.
I think that's like the most iconic one.
Oh yeah,
right. I also love in this movie just the emphasis. There's so many shots that have mirrors in them, and one of the things that I noted this time that I thought was a really interesting and creative decision, and again, I might just be reading too much into this, like, but the way I read it was when Neo takes the red pill and decides to indeed stay in Wonderland and see how far the rabbit hole goes, he looks over at the mirror, and the mirror is cracked.
Yeah.
Almost as if saying the Matrix is a cracked reality of what reality really is. It's a cracked version of it. And then once he takes the pill, a few seconds later, the mirror reforms and he sees his image as a whole image. And the way I read it was him leaving the Matrix is like him finally seeing the whole picture.
Yeah. When you said mirror, I thought of the cracked mirror too.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's some influence with Terminator 2, because that CGI with when he puts his fingers in there.
Absolutely.
Like that looks exactly like the liquid metal T1. No, is it the T1?
T1000.
T1000.
Yeah, good old Robert Patrick.
Yep. I'm trying to look at my notes here. I think I might have one more thing to say. There was a part. It was a line exchange between Neo and Trinity that I did not like. This is, I think, the most robotic I've heard Trinity sound. It's like really bad. When he's telling her that he's not the one, and her responses just sound. It doesn't even seem like she's there. It's like he's like saying, "I'm not the one, Trinity," and she's like, "No, you have to be. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm just another guy." No, Neo, that's not true. It can't be true. I was like, what is that? I was like so taken out. I was like, holy shit. Like, did she really deliver it that?
No,
that wasn't good.
You got me there. That's not the best exchange. And I mean, all right, Keanu's not giving Carrie Ann Moss a lot to work with there to begin with. So I don't exactly blame her, but I want to tie that into like an earlier thing that you had brought up about how their romance doesn't work. And I get that they don't show a lot with them, as opposed to the second film where they show a lot of them.
Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, but and we'll get into that in just a minute because we can kind of wrap things up. I'll look through my notes in a sec and just see if there's anything I want to bring up. But yeah, I think that with Trinity's character, you got to think about it. Because why are all these people trusting Morpheus, right? This is Morpheus who's kind of leading the head charge when it comes to Neo is the one, he is our savior. He believes in the Oracle through and through, no matter what. Like, she could say anything and he would find the meaning behind it, right? Like, she could just say a random thing and he'd be like, that's how I'm living my life now. So he follows the Oracle's words to a T, and everybody else in his crew follows Morpheus to a T. So it's kind of this trickle down thing. So when Morpheus is told by the Oracle that Neo is Neo's the one or whatever, and he thinks Neo's the one. And now the people under him, especially Trinity, who really believes in Morpheus, now she too is like, oh, he's the one. And what did the Oracle tell me? That the person who is the one is who I'm going to fall in love with, and I love you. So I wonder if it's a little bit like, not, I don't want to say like Dune in that aspect, but where the idea of believing in a prophecy can really make you think a certain way. So whether or not their chemistry is super on point, I think it doesn't impact me, because I feel like that's not what the film is trying to say. And again, I could be reading too much into it, but at least that's how I read, or at least why I can maybe overlook how the relationship is a little rushed. Because one thing that I think this film has a really big edge above in terms of the sequel is it is superbly paced. I feel like every scene really does add to the next. It all bleeds into one another, and it is really efficient in the storytelling. Like, I feel it's very similar to Star Wars A New Hope in the sense of how it introduces you to the world and feeds you pieces of information in a way that's not only expository but really interesting and creative. I don't know. It's a very well-paced film in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I was never bored while watching it, and I never was like checking my watch or like how much time do I have left. It just worked. I think it was entertaining and just moves at a really, really quick pace.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a section in like the like 2/3 of it where it's like the first third of the movie just goes so quick, and it kind of like it slows itself down a little bit, which is fine. Like, I don't expect the movie to like have the same energy as like the first like 20 to 30 minutes. But I don't even know how I didn't get to this, because this is one of my least favorite things about the movie. This is what kind of really hurt it for me and took me out of it, was the cheesy ass. It was so corny. I felt like I was thrown in a Disney film. He dies, and he's brought back by the kiss. That
Not brought back by the kiss.
Oh yes, he is. What do you mean?
He's not brought back by the kiss.
Well,
that's an outlandish statement, and you misread it. He is brought back because he's the one.
That sucks. It sucks. It's like, it's so cheesy. I don't know. It just feels, that felt very cheap to me. It's like, you know, he's killed, but you know he's gonna come back, and he's revived by like Trinity's like little speech. And if it's not that, it's definitely filmed like that. So that's a direction problem then.
I see your critique there.
That killed it for me, because it just completely loses. You have a film that's so like, I don't know, it's very deep in its writing, and that's how you do it. That's how you do. I don't know. And didn't he realize his abilities by that fight? You know, you think he did.
No.
No, but you think he would. No.
Why? The by that time that fight happens, he's literally been told, you're not the one. The Oracle is like, it's not you. Sorry.
So what brings him back?
He's the one.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's an all of a sudden realization out of nowhere, and it's kind of like it's stemmed from Trinity's love for him.
But you know why it works?
You might.
And this is the last thing I'll say. This is the last thing I say. I do want to mention quick though, and we don't have to discuss it much, but I really loved how the first third of this movie had so many Cronenberg-esque like horror body moments, or body horror moments.
Yeah,
like some of them were genuinely uncomfortable. Like when his mouth starts
that's
closing.
terrifying.
Yeah. And also, dude, just like when that thing goes inside his belly button, like I got like skeeved out by that.
I know.
It wasn't
very unsettling.
Even when like the metal starts like climbing up his body, and when he awakens in like the pod, it's so like visceral, and like he's all gooey and bald. Yeah. It's
that's like one of the best looking like overall scenes. Like, is when he wakes up.
I wanted to we didn't talk about it a lot, but I did want to mention that the music, the theme in that scene when he first wakes up, and you get that really great like pan up shot of all of the pods. It's like this triumphant but hauntingly terrifying like score with like French horns and shit. It's like bah, bah, bah. Felt very Star Wars-esque. Like, loved it. But what what was I gonna say? I had one final thing that I loved about this film, but I can't remember. Oh, it was in reference to what you were saying. It was Neo. I think has one of my favorite hero moments in a big action film, because like hero moments to me can come across really really cheesy, and a lot of the times they can not work. But what I think works really well in this film is that, and why the whole resurrection thing does work and Neo being the one, is that Neo goes into the Matrix to save Morpheus, right? He's learned abilities, but at this point he doesn't know he's the one. He's been in fact told by the Oracle, this all-knowing presence, you're not the one. But he makes a choice to still go in and save Morpheus regardless of whether or not he's the one. He, at that moment, does not believe he's the one, and in his moment, they're a second away from unplugging Morpheus because it's revealed that he has the coordinates to Zion, which is like the base home outside of the Matrix of the Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And nope, Neo says, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in. And they're like, it's suicide. And he's like, I don't care. And it's a little cheesy, but it works because I think of the precedent set by him not knowing that he's the one. And that's why all of that stuff later works, because he didn't believe he was the one, but he is the one.
The romance kiss does not work for me, and it will not work for me. That
fine.
part could have gotten deleted so fucking fast.
But every action movie has romance. Like,
yeah, but
do I really need Kyle Reese and like Sarah Connor banging for 8 minutes in Terminator 1? No.
No, that's not the topic at hand here. Okay, we're talking about the Matrix. Whatever. I don't know.
Would you agree though that the pacing is really great? Like, I feel like there's not a lot of wasted time.
Yeah, and it feels very different from, obviously Reloaded, which we're gonna get into, like, now I guess.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that now. One last thing. It's my last note. Actually, my last two notes. I think the scene of Agent Smith wanting, like, when he's like tells the other agents to leave and he's interrogating Morpheus, and he basically says, I am repulsed by humans, you stink, that's why I want to. He's like, please let me destroy Zion so I don't have to fucking come into the Matrix anymore and deal with you assholes. I love that. And I also wrote my last note of this movie, and this leads perfectly into discussing The Matrix Reloaded, is perfect ending. Neo completed his arc. He's the one. Contained story. The end. No need for a sequel. And that is 1999's The Matrix, guys. Now we will be discussing The Matrix Reloaded after a brief commercial break, aka I need to go get my computer charger. All right, now that my laptop is nice and charged, guys, we are moving on to The Matrix Reloaded, released in 2003, again directed by the Wachowskis. And I wanted to point this out because one of the things that I really want to break down when we're discussing other franchises is how having different crew on the films can severely impact the quality and the consistency of certain things like the visual style, the music, the editing, and all that stuff. But it seems like for the first three Matrix films, at least, the crew was practically the entire same for every role. Same directors, same cinematographer, same person did the music, same person edited it. It was across the board. They brought everybody back.
Why does this film just completely boost that green? Like, this movie is so much uglier than, there's like a subtle green tint in the first one. This one, I really think I noticed it on, I'm jumping already.
Just like jump right in.
The highway scene. That's a fun scene and all, but I really was like, wow, this is like really turquoise. Like, this is,
but
they just bumped up the level so much. It's so distracting.
That highway
and ugly
scene
to
is
me.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, I just wish I was like, wow, this movie really just doesn't. This is like cheaply colored.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If it just felt so like obviously green, like just green tints, like not even like subtle about it. Like the first one kind of is. I mean, it's there, but it's like, it works.
Yeah,
This one didn't.
I think in general, I don't know. I guess I didn't notice too much of them turning the green up. I don't know, because I felt it was really prominent in the first one anyway. But one thing that the first film does that we didn't really talk about really well is the scenes inside the Matrix have that very green tint, and the scenes outside of the Matrix when they're on the Nebuchadnezzar, it has like more of a bluish overcast to it that really like separates the real world from the Matrix. In this film, we get a lot more variety, I guess, but it also doesn't always look the best. And one thing I want to bring up is, I don't know if you saw or if you forgot, but we talked about the first film, and I don't know, we mentioned about how great the action is and how everything, looks. I wasn't sure how you felt about the VFX holding up. I thought like 95% of the time the VFX in the first film held up really well. And even things like the, what are they called? Sentinels that are coming after them?
Yeah.
The Sentinels, because they color corrected the real world so dark and made it look so darkly lit, it obscured maybe some VFX that wouldn't hold up 25 years later. But in this film, you see way more effects in like broad daylight, and it looks a lot worse.
Which is weird, because this is 4 years later. You'd expect it got better. Like, I get this was like the time period that like CGI was like really getting like,
it was new. Yeah,
it was exciting for people to use. Are you talking about the Agent Smith fight scene?
When he's do not like that fight scene at all. Can I just throw that out there?
You don't.
I don't. And like, I know that like, and
I actually don't mind it.
That's so interesting. I have so many issues with that scene, and I'm gonna dig into them right now. I do want to mention really quickly that it's weird that there are definitely going to be more criticisms about the visual style and the visual effects in this film compared to the first, because like you said, this film had 4 years, right? And it's not like it was a rush job. I looked in the pre-production, or I looked at the Wikipedia on, and they said that they spent 3 years like in total, right? They said they spent a whole year on pre-production, a whole year filming it, and a whole year on post-production. So they had a whole year to do the VFX.
Yeah, that's wild.
All right.
But do you dislike this because of how it looks, or you don't like how it's choreographed?
No, I have like, all right. So I'm not. I'm sounding like I'm gonna completely bash this movie, and I'm not. There are some positives. I don't think this is a travesty. I think in the context of franchises, and we'll get into a lot of them, but this is much better than a lot of other sequels. And we'll get into some positives first then, and then I'll break down why I really hate that Mr. Smith times 1,000 action scene, or Agent Smith, whatever. I think the action sequences in this film, outside of that one, I really like a lot of them. I love the highway sequence. It took them, I believe, 3 months to shoot, which is insane. They shot.
Is that including the fight leading up to that? Because I like that fight scene a lot in the.
No, just the highway stuff took like 3 months, and that's because so much of it is done practically. GM, I think, donated over 300 cars to the movie that they destroyed, which is crazy.
Holy shit.
They built a 1.5 mile highway to film on for part of the sequence. Like a lot of the highway stuff, like that looks like real highway. 1.5 miles they actually built. They shot the rest in 2 different locations, so 3 different shooting locations. And in my opinion, the whole stuff, like the transitions in between locations, seamless. Like I didn't notice it at all until I read that fact. Like you could have told me that it was all one location, I probably would have believed you.
Oh yeah, I didn't pick up on that at all.
Yeah, excellent action sequence. When people talk about this movie, even the people who give this movie like a 1 out of 10 will tell you that the highway action scene is awesome. With the twins are really cool characters. I love the fight scene with Keanu and like all of the kung fu guys with the weapons.
Yeah.
I think that like addresses your problem from the first movie.
It does. I wish I had more of that in the first one, like sword and like knife combat. Like that's all good. There felt like There was like less guns in this, wasn't there? I think there was.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Which is weird because like the sequel, you feel like you go bigger, like bigger scale. And I get like the sets were bigger,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
in terms of like what they're using, it felt like not more. Actually, maybe more hand to hand because they had like the swords and shit like that. That's a weird thing for a sequel to kind of like downscale it in terms of like, I don't know.
I think
But
it has more
a lot more
scale.
explosions though.
Yeah, a
a
lot
lot more
more.
explosions. So
Mainly in that highway. Dude, and the whole final. Dude, I forgot they blow up like an entire like electrical plant.
oh yeah, when he's like flying through that fucking explosion, and it's just like the whole background is just fire.
Can we talk about the flying? Oh,
Yes, we can because that's one of my first notes.
Let's address the elephant in the room. This is a Superman movie.
Yeah, he's doing a Superman thing. That completely like I was like, okay, that's what we're doing here. We're just like we're turning this into like a superhero flick. He just randomly is just doing just nighttime flying around.
Not 100% random. He flies at the end of the first movie, which we didn't address, but he flies.
Why? No, he's flying up in the clouds for no reason, just to fly back down into the headquarters.
There's
Just
no
go to the
reason.
headquarters.
He's doing his Superman thing.
Oh,
No, the writing is not great.
It just gets goofy for no reason, out of nowhere, like at the start.
One of the issues is we already kind of talked about how Keanu as Neo is fine and Trinity is fine, but they're not the most interesting of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, one of the biggest issues is in the first movie, they kill off 95% of the crew. Like, a bunch of the characters in that film dead, like die,
Yeah.
are not returning. The one guy who's not like one of the main people, Tank, survives, right? He survives at the end of the movie, and he's the one who's able to stop Cypher from unplugging Neo. But they're all dead. And so you're thinking, okay, maybe we'll at least get Tank back. No, Tank doesn't return because they kill him off screen. And instead, you follow Link, who's played by the one actor whose name I do not know, but he's from Lost. He plays Michael in Lost, if you guys have seen Lost. He plays Walt's dad, the little kid. They spend like a bunch of time looking for Walt, whatever.
I've never seen Lost.
It's fine. It's fine. It's not amazing. Well, some of it's amazing, but not a lot of it. But either way, Link is the husband of Tank and Dozer's sister.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't even know if I picked up. Like, I forgot Tank. Like, just, and if they mention it, I just don't remember. But
You're
I forgot
hating
he was
on Tank and Dozer, man. Tank and Dozer were great.
No, I like Tank in the first one. I kind of forgot he should have been in this movie. And
Well, yeah, he should have
he
been.
wasn't.
I remember even when I was like a kid and I first got into these movies, I was like, "What? Why didn't that guy return? He survived the last movie." And I read up on it, and apparently they offered him. How much did they offer him? $250,000 for each of the films, I believe, or maybe collectively, which would have been apparently 6 times the amount he made on the first movie. But he wanted $1 million, and they said no. So they killed him off. So that's why we
Wow.
don't have Tank in the movie. But I just love one of my favorite. I like burst out laughing, and I very rarely ever rewind films, even if it's a piece of dialogue I really like. I don't like breaking up the continuity and the thread.
Oh,
and whatever.
interesting. I have no shame rewinding rewinding scenes.
Not a big rewind. I rewinded and turned on the subtitles because when Link and Neonu, what the fuck am I saying? Link, Neo, Trinity, Morpheus, they all return back to Zion. So we actually get to see Zion in this movie. And Zion, in my opinion, looks very cool. Very awesome set built. But they return, and when Link opens the door to his house or his hut, whatever he lives in, I don't know, he says, where's my pussy? But he gets interrupted because the second he's saying pussy, he sees that his kids are there. And so that's a thing. I thought that line was really funny.
I didn't remember that.
Dude, oh, it's so funny. He opens the door, where's my puss? And then just stops. Great.
And that's what finally got you to rewind the first time in your life.
Yeah.
That
because I was like, did I mishear that? Is that really what he said? Is that the first thing he says to his wife when he comes home from a long venture where she's like worried about the safety because both of her brothers died?
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
How? Well, I guess you. Well, no, you didn't miss it. You just had to go back and like just make sure you heard that right.
Yeah, I had to make sure my ears weren't deceiving me. How do you feel about the 15-minute long sex scene between Neo and Trinity?
Yeah, man. I don't know why it's there. Like, I don't know why it's spliced in with like a rave going on and stuff like that. Like, it's slow motion and it's just so long and drawn out. I don't get it. Is it like? I really no. I don't. Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't
why
get
it's
it
there.
either because the first movie is not horny at all. There's the one scene we mentioned where the young guy, as like a personality trait, he was talking to Neo about how like we shouldn't deny our desires, and he's like, if you want to go in with the girl in the red dress, you totally can. Blah blah blah. And that's it. There's that one scene, and that's it. In this movie, I have not seen a movie this horny in so long. Like, there is like an 8-minute long sex scene, like we said, between Trinity and Neo that is, like Josh said, spliced in between the rave. And I don't mind the rave. Like, I think that's kind of cool to see their culture still like celebrating. It sort of reminds me, and I hate to keep bringing up Dune, but after reading the novel, like seeing how it influenced all of these sci-fi products is like pretty cool, because it reminds me of the Fremen in Dune and like how they have like these big wild orgies, but like at least the films had the decency to not show the Fremen orgies, because I don't want to see that in a film.
Okay, this takes place what, 6 months after?
Yeah,
Something
so
like
that's
that.
what the wiki says. It takes place 6 months after the events of the first film, and they said that. Where's who?
No, where's all of this in the first one? None of this is present. How does like 6 months? I feel like that's not a lot of time to like have this many people. I don't know. Does it seem like a huge? Well, how many people are there?
Oh,
like,
no.
Like,
I mean, Zion's been around for a while. Like they say
I guess we
that.
just didn't see it, right?
We just didn't see it in the first film. And I actually
Okay.
don't mind, because one of the things that I think sequels should do is expand on the world that they set up in the first film. So going
Okay.
to Zion is pretty cool. And like I said, I really do like the look and design of it. Getting to look at the behind the scenes featurettes, seeing like the giant sets they built. I read that. So there's conflicting reports because, you know, the scene when Morpheus gives his big speech to the people of Zion?
Yeah.
So I was reading up, or I was watching the documentary. There's like a 25-minute, maybe longer documentary on Matrix Reloaded. And he said, I was speaking to a crowd of 2,000 people, like real people, not CGI. So I really had to like give a commanding performance. And I think he really does. Like, I think that speech is actually really great on his part. But then also on the trivia facts on IMDb, it said that for the Zion sequence, there was only 1,000 extras. So I don't know if it was 2,000 or 1,000, but
I don't care for it. I'll say I don't like his speech.
really,
No, I don't. I feel like because I don't like how his character shifts into like, he goes from like being like mysterious. He loses that mystique in this one.
I see that.
He becomes very like preachy kind of thing, and I don't know. It just doesn't feel like his character. Not to mention, when I was listening to his speech, he has this weird delivery when he says the lines. He remembers that for 100 years they sent their armies to destroy us, but he says these two words very weird, very strange. He like emphasizes years and armies. He says it's like, I remember that for 100 years that they have sent their armies. And I was like, what is that?
No.
What are you doing? Are you doing a bit? What is that? Like,
It's a good speech.
well,
It got me.
that's
It
like-
gave me chills.
it didn't do anything for
I
me.
got
was like,
hype.
I was like, I missed the old Morpheus. That was like subtle and like just like calm and collected, not like shirtless and like
I forgot
like,
he's shirtless.
screaming at yeah, he's shirtless. Like,
Oh right,
I don't
because that's
know.
when we see how shredded he is.
Yeah.
He is yoked.
I don't know.
But here's the thing: is I feel like with like, and that boils down to the biggest problem with this movie is that I feel like I said the first Matrix is such a good contained story that explores just enough to interest you, but leaves just enough to, for you to make up your own mind, and it leaves enough mystery there. Whereas any sequel, you're going to have to naturally explore more of the characters in the world. And where I
Yeah.
feel like they do a good job exploring more of the world in this one, again, I like Zion. I like seeing it. I like seeing their kind of politics. Because one of the aspects that I thought was kind of interesting was you have some people like, Trinity and the characters in the first film. And clearly a lot of the people in that crowd, because when Morpheus came out, they were fucking chanting. They were clapping and shit. And then he came out, gave that badass speech. They were loving it, eating that shit up. But it sucks when you kind of reflect on it and you really like Morpheus's whole backing behind his confidence is, if you boil it down to, no, just trust me, bro. He doesn't have any evidence. He's basically just like, trust me. And even the other guy, what's Jada Pinkett Smith's character? Niobe. I don't like Jada Pinkett Smith in any movie. I don't like her in Scream 2. I don't like her in this. But
I'm with you.
Niobe's character, she's dating the other guy whose name I didn't catch.
If you thought I had trouble with some of the names in the first one, don't even bother asking me about the second one.
See, the first one, I'm with you. Or I'm not with you because I knew all the characters' names. But this one, I don't remember any of these characters' names. Like, who's that little weird dude who keeps coming up to Neo and is like, Neo, you're the reason I'm out of here. I want to join your crew in 6 months. And
yeah.
who was that?
Yeah, he's like the, I forget where he came from too.
Matrix.
Neo saved his life, and I was like, who's this guy?
If I'm not mistaken, I think in one of the Animatrix shorts they introduced that character, but I have not seen the Animatrix in since I was 7 years old, so I don't remember. And I shouldn't have to. I don't know. In the first movie, all the characters were they felt like people. In this movie, they feel like characters. I don't know. I just enjoy that crew in that first one so much. And it's in the moment when you're watching the first movie, it's really emotionally impactful and sad for me, at least, when these characters all die, because it's I liked them. I wanted to see them survive. They're the good guys. And then in this film, I'm I really just don't care if anybody dies or makes it out of this movie. The action is fun. It's cool. It's well done. I think, unfortunately, some of the VFX were way more noticeable. And let's get into that, because you like it, and I want to know why you like it. But
wait, like what?
I was about to bring up the fight scene with the crowd, the horde of Agent Smiths.
Hold on. I said I don't mind it. I didn't really say I liked it.
It's so goofy, and not fun goofy. It's just stupid. Writing wise, it is stupid. Because I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'm sorry. In the first movie, I said his arc is completed. We see Neo resurrect himself and fight the agents who we were told previously kill every single person they come in contact with, no matter how strong and how well versed you are in the ways of ancient martial arts, you fucking die. And we see Neo get the shit beaten out of him, gets shot, gets killed, resurrects himself, and then fights these agents to a degree in which they look like small school children. He beats the fuck out of them, crawls into Agent Smith, and explodes him from the inside. Neo has completed his arc. He ends the movie flying off into the sky. He is God of the Matrix at this point. That's the problem with a sequel, and that's the problem with this second movie and this fight scene, is that in the first movie, Agent Smith, like you said, is so intimidating. He's scary. He has such a presence until the end of the movie when he's defeated. And so what's the natural progression? Instead of just creating a new villain, maybe someone more interesting, more threatening, get a new actor. Oh, let's just get Hugo Weaving back. And oh, you thought one of them was bad. Let's have 1,000 of them. It's so ridiculous.
So I was just talking about the fight itself. I was talking about the choreography. I wasn't talking about the writing itself for the movie. But you know, the best thing about being me,
Yeah.
there's so many me's.
No, you got to say it the way he does. The best thing about me is there's so many of me. And then he creates another one and he's like, thanks, me. It's so ridiculous.
I think one of my favorite things about this movie is when the civilians turn into an agent. And it happens in that scene. It
happens like 5 times.
Yeah, and I don't really remember that in the first one being like so silly, but they just like they get so cartoonish in like their expression before they even change, before the CGI even hits. They like when they're driving on the highway.
Oh my
the
god,
cops,
yeah, the cops.
That actually like scared me for a second. I was like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" And then he was like, "But it was like silly."
He gives like a boogity boo face.
Yeah,
like shaking his cheeks, flapping around everywhere. Oh my god. No, and dude, see, I would agree with you on the whole Agent Smith fight scene with like the choreography if there was choreography. Like when I was talking about the first film, all the fight scenes feel authentic, it feels real. The only time it really feels like it's leaning into the CGI is when they do like the bullet time or like the 360 shots. Like all of that stuff, yeah, you could tell sometimes that it's special effects. The movie's 25 years old, get over it. But the actual fight scenes look authentic. They look real. The punches look real. It's in the Wikipedia and the IMDb trivia that when Lawrence Fishburne and Keanu were doing the kung fu scene in that simulation fight, like they hit each other a lot. Like they bruised each other up. It was a physical process. In this one, there's so many shots where I can tell that some of the Agent Smiths are clearly stunt doubles.
yeah.
It's so obvious. And B, like it's I'm fine with the fight actually up until Neo gets the pole. When he gets the pole, every shot from then on looks like
That's
a
when
PS2 video
yes.
game.
Yes, because I remember reading that like that was like a very noticeably bad CGI scene, and I was watching. I was like, I'm not really picking it up right now. And then when it got bigger and bigger, I was like, okay, now I see it. Now I see the flaws in the CGI.
Bad. And for a movie that had, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but the first movie, right, $63 million budget, very rarely looks fake. This second film, $127 to $150 million budget. That's, you have nearly $100 more in budget. And again, like I said, a whole year of post-production, a whole year of pre-production and pre-viz to get this shit down pat, and it looks bad, like really bad.
And that's like that. I'm trying to think of other movies that happens with. I don't know how that happens.
Where the effects get worse.
Yeah, like
I'd say Terminator 3 looks worse than Terminator 2.
see, I don't even remember Terminator 3 at all. But like even, well,
Most people don't.
I guess Spider-Man 3 is not like. Well,
Yeah,
no, Spider-Man
Spider-Man
3
3
to 2 is like
no.
is worse.
Yeah, like the ring fight, the concept
Yeah.
is cool, but that looks cartoony as hell.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I just think of this movie as an entirety, and like the VFX are a part of that. Like it's all under the same issue of trying to do too much. And so I want to read you, because I mentioned it before we started recording. I have a quote from Bill Pope, the cinematographer of the film, that I thought was absolutely hilarious. This is what it says. In an interview on the Team Deacons podcast in the summer of 2020, the Matrix Trilogy's director of photography described working on the sequels as a negative experience, saying everything that was good about the first experience was not good about the last two. We weren't free anymore. People were looking at you. There was a lot of pressure. In my heart, I didn't like them. I felt like we should be going in another direction. There was a lot of friction and a lot of personal problems, and it showed up on screen, to be honest with you. It was not my most elevated moment, nor was it anyone else's. The Wachowskis had read this damn book by Stanley Kubrick that said actors don't do natural performances until you wear them out. So let's go do take 90. I want to dig up Stanley Kubrick and kill him.
My God.
I thought that was so funny. It starts off so normal, like, hey, it was a production where there was a lot of pressure on us, and then ends with, I want to dig up Stanley Kubrick and fucking kill him again.
So that's the kind of production this was. They were just like wearing out like just everybody on set.
I get the sense that this was a movie where in the first film, because so before this, right, the Wachowskis wrote a script before the first Matrix film that was read by a production head, and he really liked it and signed them onto a 3-picture thing. And the 3 movies were the one that he had read, which I can't remember the name, some film called Outbound, I think it was, that was pretty critically successful, and then The Matrix. So they made Outbound, people liked it, and then they went on to do The Matrix. And I think at that time they were just up and coming, and then they made The Matrix, which just fucking exploded onto the screen. Like, people have no idea how hard it would be nowadays to make an original sci-fi film and for it to end the year in top 3 in box office. Mm-hmm. That is, maybe we are past those days. Like, that is unbelievable. Not based on a book, obviously inspired by other things, like Ghost in the Shell, obviously those Hong Kong films that we talked about. But still, like, it's an anomaly. And so now I think at that point that film explodes on the scene. I think the producers at that point were like really meddling into the production, because it feels, I don't know if you felt this way, but the script in this movie felt so messy and all over the place.
Yeah, like it felt goofy. It just felt very like it wasn't taking itself seriously, but then at other parts it was like overly taking itself seriously where it didn't have a right to. Like, there's a lot of I forget who the character is that's like the he's got the dreads. His girlfriend gives him the necklace. What's his name? He's
Link?
Like, is it? I don't know. He has a lot of like comic relief moments where it's just like
the one who says he's doing his Superman thing.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Just like he has like these random lines where it's like it just sounds like you're just trying to get like a quick laugh or like a, I don't know. It just it falls off the tone of the first one badly, and it very much feels like you said, like a superhero movie, but like not like even like a good one, like just
no,
just like.
Well, and that's where I'm torn on this movie, because like I said, I do think some of the action scenes are like genuinely amazing, like not just good or serviceable. Like that highway scene we've mentioned. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Like the stunt work, the action, the creativity of it all, the fluidity of the camera movements. And while I do think the action is great in this movie, there is not nearly as many memorable shots outside of the action as I think the first movie. Right. I think we talked about the cinematography in the first one and all of those iconic shots and just the framing and the purposeful implementation of like the mirror and all of that great stuff. And in this film, you just kind of lose all of that. And the only real...
It's basic.
The only real... Yeah, it's basic. And the only real eye candy is the action sequences. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just feels very like, I don't know, like paint by numbers kind of thing, and like I said before, I don't think it looks good at all. Like the color grading is just is not good at all. So it just feels cheap, and it's weird with an extra almost $100 million budget that you could just look like cheaper. I don't know.
It's a weird feeling I get, because normally you watch a movie like this, you see a sequel. And there's a reason why you can point to, like, oh, they had a different editor, they had a different VFX team, different writer stepped in, different director stepped in. and you can point to it, or hey, they got everybody, like an Iron Man 2, they got everybody back, but they were forced to write the script, shoot the movie, and edit it in a year. Like they were forced to work really quickly. But this film, it had the money, it had the time, it had the same creative team. So all I can really boil down to the issues that really plague this film is that they tried to do too much. I think you do too many things, and you drag the film in way too many different directions, and you'd think that this film would be just flooded with entertainment, but it's really not. Like my notes in the first like 30-40 minutes of this film are just, wow, this is boring. Wow, nothing has happened yet. Nothing interesting going on. Like I think I wrote a note like 32 minutes in and nothing interesting has happened yet. And then it feels weird when they try to replicate beats from the first movie. We talked about that Agent Smith fight scene, but right before that is another scene with the Oracle. And it pisses me off because in the first film, you're just left with this. When you first see the Oracle scene, you're left with, oh, is she fucking with him? Is she just trying to steer him in the right direction? Or is he really not the one? You don't really know. They play with that mystery. And in the second one, she says a line that really pisses me off. This is a character, Josh, that is called the Oracle. And she says a line to Neo that is, you even made a believer out of me. What the fuck are you talking about? Your name is the Oracle. You're supposed to tell people like their future and shit.
Yeah, so what
do you mean?
So I mean, if you're the writers, what is the goal for that line? Like I don't know, like
I don't know. It's so frustrating. And also, I want to address one thing, because this is something that I don't want to miss or forget. One of the biggest editing mistakes I have ever seen in my life happens right before the fight scene with all of the Agent Smiths. And I want to know if you caught it, because it was so distracting.
I did not.
Okay. So when Neo and Agent Smith are like walking towards each other, they're doing their like Mexican standoff thing.
Mm-hmm.
Neo's sunglasses are really dark. Like there's no reflection on them. When you look at Agent Smith's, in the left one, and this is so nitpicky, but it was such a glaring error for a movie with this big of a budget, you can see the biggest, whitest bounce board reflecting a light on him that I've ever seen in my life. It is, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just in one shot. And then they'd cut to Neo, and then they'd cut back to Agent Smith, and I'm like, oh, it's still there. And they did this like 13 times. And I even was like, oh, maybe it's just a big white sign, and I'm just missing this correctly. But then they proceed to do a 360 pan shot showing all of the Agent Smiths surrounding Neo. No giant white board. It was so, and it's even more distracting because you can see because Neo is fully lit the same way. It doesn't look like he had a key or a fill light. It looks like he was backlit. Whereas Agent Smith clearly has a really strong key light on the side of his face. And so it made the giant white reflecting board way more noticeable. And
I'm trying to look this up to just see what this looked like.
It was astonishing. And I was like, when I looked at the budget, I was like, I hate to be that guy who's like, this should not happen in a movie this big of size and scale and has this big of a budget, and nobody caught this. Like, you spent a year on post-production.
Wow.
You see
there
it now?
Is.
This is where I wish we had a video format and we could share our screen. Guys, if you want to see it, go back. It's the literally seconds leading up to before Neo fights all the Agent Smiths. It's so glaring. It's in his one. It's so bad. That scene is riddled with issues. I just don't... It's writing-wise bad for the story. It diminishes the first film. It's visually an eyesore. It takes place... Imagine if that scene was taking place at night in the pouring rain. Instead, it's in broad daylight. It looks bad.
So you agree then that this movie is just overly like convoluted for no reason? Like they just like...
Yeah.
Like how do you feel about the architect?
I was literally just about to get into that with you because I fucking hate that scene. That is a scene that should be, or at least feels like it belongs in the end of the trilogy, not at the end of your second movie. And for those of you who haven't seen the Matrix movies in a while, I want to break down essentially what happens. Basically, this whole movie, this whole plot is to find this character named the Keymaker who has a key that can get you to this place that is called the Source. And when you get to the Source, that's supposed to end the war that was against the machines or whatever. So they finally get to this at the end, and Neo enters this room, and he sat down by this old white dude with like graying hair and all these TV monitors, and the scene boils down to basically finding out that this has happened 5 previous times. The Matrix has been rebooted 5 times. We are now on the 6th iteration, and a character, an individual like Neo, every single time has gotten to this point and has reacted a different way. What the fuck are we doing? What the actual fuck are we doing here?
Is that when there's like all those like TV responses?
Yeah. Which is
There's so many. Like,
there's so many and they're so goofy. When have you ever seen Neo act like that?
Yeah, like even if it's a different like time, but if this only happened 5 times,
Yeah.
why is there so many?
I don't know, Josh. I could not tell you. It makes no fucking sense. They're so specific too, because when and it's such a weird, underwhelming reveal, because he's like, the guy starts off and he's like, oh, by the way, this guy, the actor who they cast, said that he modeled his pronunciation and voice off of Orson Welles. So take that and run with it if you want. But he basically, it's so stupid. He leads in and he's like, the Matrix is older than you think, Neo. And you're like, oh shit, how long has this been going on for? And he goes, this is the 6th time. And he like, it's so underwhelming because you're expecting him to be like, this is the 200th version of the Matrix. I've seen this done over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And he just says 6 times and you're like, oh, okay.
I guess it's safe to say that Scary Movie 3 did this scene better.
Isn't it Will Ferrell? Is it
No,
Will? No.
it's I forget his name. Who was
I know
it?
what you're talking about though, yeah. Why is Scary Movie doing fucking The Matrix? That's so
I don't
weird.
know. I don't know.
I like the first one. I like the first Scary Movie. I don't know about the other ones.
I like 1 to 3, but then after
2 is fun. It's Tori Spelling having sex with a ghost is hilarious every single time.
Here's something I had an issue with. How did you feel about like the opening scene
Bad.
with Trinity? Okay.
It's bad.
Again, so when she's when they're falling, right?
Yeah.
They're about what, like 10, maybe 20 feet from each other, falling, firing about 50 bullets each.
And they're just missing.
Straight on. Why could no one hit anybody? Like, I'm sorry. I didn't feel bad at all for Trinity. Sorry, you had like fucking 50 shots to get him, and you're aiming the same distance. How are these bullets going for all these like different directions?
Well,
I fucking hated that so much.
You know what? It doesn't even matter, because even if she does die, Neo can just reach into her heart and kickstart it.
Exactly. There's no
heart.
there's never any kind of like it's like okay, there's no consequences to this. No. At all.
Not at all. Not in the slightest. Dude, you know what makes me even more upset? And this is where I was like, I don't hate this movie, but so they get out of the Matrix at the end, right? Because basically at the end of the architect scene, the architect is to Neo is like, you go through that one door. He gets another choice. So kind of like the pill scene in the first one. Gets a choice. Go through that door and we will destroy Zion, but you can save, like, I forget what he says, but he's like 13 males and 7 females or something. I don't know. He says some number of a different number instead of just an equal amount. He says different number. Whatever. Or you can go through that door and save Trinity, and then I'm going to just fucking destroy Zion and you're all fucking dead. And I'm going to reboot the Matrix and kill everybody. Yada, yada. Neo, without a fucking hesitation, goes to the Trinity door because he's got pussy on the brain. And Superman fucking flies, saves her. They get out of the Matrix. And then, did I read this wrong? Is Zion all fucking destroyed? Is that what that was? Or was that a different place where they were? Is that Zion that's all destroyed? They're in like a destroyed ruins. Is that Zion? Did I miss something?
You know, if you did, I did too. I don't know. I don't know.
Regardless, our heroes end the film in a really bad spot. Not only is everything fucked, and Neo is told that it doesn't even matter if he's the one because the Matrix has been rebooted 5 times. None of this matters. He tells Morpheus' heart is broken. Trinity's all fucked up. Link is all fucked up. Everyone's all fucked up. And then you hear Sentinels are coming in hot. And the Sentinels, very intimidating. They still look pretty good. I'll give them that. The VFX are shoddy in this film at points, but the Sentinels I thought still held up pretty well. And again, it's because the way that they light the real world is very dark. So it obscures some maybe less than stellar VFX, but I think they look good. They're intimidating. They're menacing. They're on their way. And now we find out that not only can Neo die in the Matrix and just come back to life like in the first film, not only can he save other people who died in the Matrix, as we learned just a couple minutes ago when he restarts Trinity's heart. Wish he probably would have learned that in the last movie when all of his other crew members died, but here we are. And now we find out that Neo has powers outside of the Matrix and just holds up his hand like he's a fucking Jedi and stops the Sentinels, and they all explode in a big bombastic explosion of electricity. So now the stakes are non-existent, like, at all. So why the fuck am I supposed to care? Where are we at?
I don't know, but I can't wait now for the next ones.
What are we left to do? I don't understand.
You know what? When he's right before he saves Trinity, I love the line when, like, right when she dies, and he says, "I know you can hear me." Instead, I heard him say, "I know you're faking it." Like, okay, she's fucking dead, man. Like.
Okay, if he would have whispered in her ear, "I know you're faking it," this would be a 10 out of 10 movie.
Like, no, she can't hear you. You just
She's
revived
dead.
her. Yeah, she's dead. You clearly just revived her. So no, she can't hear you. She didn't come back to life on her own. You did that. So next time, have some sensitivity, okay?
I just, dude, I just, everything about the script in this movie bothers me because all of the stakes that were raised in the first film are completely diminished. Everything that we were told in the last, like, 4 hours of film between both films don't fucking matter anymore. And I just don't understand why I'm supposed to give a shit anymore. By the end of this movie, I was just exhausted. I was really tired, and I just didn't. I'm not excited for the next movie.
Did you remember the end? Did you remember it ending like that or no?
Of this movie?
Yeah.
No. I remember not liking it. I remember not liking it as a kid. Even as like a 7-year-old, I was like, "This is dumb."
I forgot about the that guy. I forget his name, but that's the guy that tried to. Isn't that the guy that tried to kill him? Right.
Oh, Cypher. Yeah, I forgot. Whatever.
No.
I don't care.
Wait, no, not Cypher.
Is that not Cypher? Oh, the guy with the
No,
knife behind his back?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that plot line.
Yeah,
There's so
so-
much in this movie.
I know.
There's so much and then also nothing. Like, what are you saying to me here? I don't care.
Oh, I don't know if you like to look at like Roger Ebert's reviews of movies, but do you know what he gave the first one?
A 2.
He gave it 3.
Okay.
3 out of 4. You
Let
know
me
what
guess.
this
He
one?
gave the 3.75.
With 3.5
Roger, you fucking idiot.
out of
Rest
4.
in peace.
I was shocked, and I was
What
like
did
reading it.
What did it?
Well,
What did Siskel give it?
do they say both the ratings? I always just see the stars on top when I
don't know, but Gene Siskel hates Taxi Driver, and for that, nobody should take his opinion seriously.
that's wild. But it's just like when I was reading the review, I was like, okay, this guy's like kind of like acknowledging that there's like cheesiness in this, but it sounds like he like accepts it in this one, but he doesn't accept anything in the first one that he doesn't like. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We didn't really talk about how these movies were received. We talked about how the first one is like hailed as like an all-time classic, but the second one, not horrible reviews. I think it boasts like a 73% critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
They're favorable. Like
They are and
overall.
I just think maybe, I don't know, maybe it's hindsight, but I don't think that the second film has aged well. I think the first film has aged a lot better in terms of just story structure, performances, characters, and VFX even. For being an older film with a smaller budget, I just find more of it impressive than I do The Matrix Reloaded. I think I've really gotten out all my thoughts on the second one. Unless there's anything. I said 32. Yeah, that's exactly 32 minutes. Nothing cool has happened.
Yeah, my notes are tapped out. That's pretty much all I got. I think I had one line written. Just just a badass line from Agent Smith when the guy says, "Oh God," and he just says, "Smith will suffice," and then he just kills him.
That's a good line. That is a good line. I didn't write that down. I should have. The only line I wrote down was, "Where's my pussy?"
I'm gonna go back and rewatch that. I'm gonna look for that fill light or the key light in his glasses.
It's just a giant white bounce board. It's insane. You can literally see the light that they reflected off of it. It's fucking.
Yeah, I was like, do I see like a light bulb like
excruciating. Yeah, no. So one thing I wanted to say is that I don't believe in the Matrix. I don't believe in the simulation theory or whatever. And also, hot take: if Morpheus gave me the option, I'd take the blue pill. I don't care. I don't want to live outside the Matrix. That looks fucking horrible. Those people look sweaty. They look sweaty and gross.
Yeah, it might be on Cypher's side. I would take the blue pill.
I'm 100% on Cypher's side. He sold me with the, you know what? I know the steak isn't real, but you know what? The Matrix is gonna tell me it is. So give me that juicy steak, baby. I vibe with that 100%. Yeah. So what was I gonna say overall? Oh, so about the Matrix. I had the weirdest string of coincidences in my fucking life when it came to watching these movies, and it all had to do with music. So I am a very big fan of music. I listen to music quite a bit. I like a lot of genres, like a lot of variety. But recently, and if you guys are fans or followers of the horror show, you will know that they have been doing the Summer of Rob, or I guess when this episode releases, it will have been a while since they did that. But this past summer, they did the Summer of Rob, and they covered all of Rob Zombie's movies. I myself have listened to a couple of Rob Zombie songs and enjoyed them, but this got me to really delve into his music, and I got really into Rob Zombie's music recently. Been listening to a lot. Listen to a lot of Rob Zombie, him and his band White Zombie. I'm a fan. I enjoy it. It's good.
I used to be real big on Rob Zombie when I was like in middle school.
It's good. It's good stuff. It's not like my favorite, but it's good. It's enjoyable. It's heavy. It's good.
It's
good
fun.
Music.
Yeah, I would say it's fun. It's a good time.
Anyway, one of the albums that I listen to is Hellbilly Deluxe, which has the song Dragula. And right before watching these movies is when I got into listening to a bunch of Rob Zombie. And wouldn't you know it, that in the first Matrix movie, when Neo follows the lady with the white rabbit tattoo into the club, what song are they playing? Dragula by Rob Zombie off of Hellbilly Deluxe. It was insane. There's also a Rob Zombie in this song in the second movie. And also, I don't know if you caught this. Yeah, there is. It's called Reloaded.
God.
But either way, it's not as good as Dragula. Dragula's a really good song. But I don't know if you noticed this either, but both Matrix 1 and Matrix Reloaded, both movies end and segue into the credits with a Rage Against the Machine song.
Yep, sure did. And I can't wait to hear what third song they use. It wasn't the same song. It wasn't the same song, right?
No, the first song is called Calm as a Bomb, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the second one is called. But the string of coincidences continues because I watched... What did I watch? Oh, I watched The Matrix Reloaded the other night, obviously, in preparation for this. And then today, I was in preparation for listening to this podcast. Actually, not preparation, but I was just listening to music, doing my morning walk to get coffee, and I was listening to the album Signals by Rush. And if you guys haven't listened to Rush, do yourself a favor. Neil Peart is the greatest the greatest rock drummer of all time. I'll die on that hill. but I was listening to Signals, and one of their songs, as I was watching as I was watching like behind the scenes of like the action scenes of The Matrix Reloaded, where they show Zion in the song on Signals, Rush says a line about Zion. And at this point, I was like, this is too many coincidences. I'm in the Matrix. It's happened. So I'm officially, boom, red-pilled, baby. Get me out of here.
Wait, I forget if you said what happened with the bee. How did that tie in again? Did I forget?
The what?
When you got stung by a bee. Or was stung by a wasp.
I don't think that ties in. I think it's just hurt.
I thought when you said it, you were like, that's going to tie into...
Did I? If so, then I was mistaken, because I don't think the bee sting... It was a wasp, actually, and it actually still hurts. It's got like a big red spot around it.
Oh, well.
I don't know. All right. Before we get into scores, the last thing I want to do is I want to tell you a little joke, and then... Okay, what do you get from a pampered cow?
What's that?
Spoiled milk.
You know, I was gonna say it too, and I was like, "There's no way this is the answer, right? It's got to be a little bit more."
And that is your daily dad joke from Jake. Okay, guys. So yeah, do you want to get into? Actually, hold on. I want to read you. We don't have enough time to read as many that I saved, but I want to read you one Letterboxd review of the first Matrix film because I think it's really weird. And again, we mentioned that the Wachowskis are now trans and are trans women. The person who wrote this also trans. They mentioned it. The person on Letterboxd gave the first Matrix a half a star, so that's essentially a 1 out of 10. And this is their review. Truly hate this film for reasons outside this film. The person that first made me watch this film is an asshole. I truly hate that kept on bragging about being so smart, not even for understanding the film, but just for watching it and following the bare bones plot. I'm already autistic, queer, and trans. So the whole what if the world wasn't what it seems thing was boring to me since I figured that out at age 11. Then years later, I took a philosophy class when I was 16, and I took it after my friend took it when he said you get to write about the philosophy of any film you wanted, which sounded really fun for a nerd that researched philosophy independently for fun. Turns out the teacher was actually the most annoying man alive that dedicated his life to always making himself seem smarter than everyone else and got pissed off at my friend's class that picked movies that he never watched, or even get so literal that said we could only write about the Matrix from now on. Giant asshole. Picked on the girls of the class just to make them feel dumb and tried to get buddy-buddy with me because I already knew what he was talking about, but all I did after that was complain about his takes on the topics we were learning about and constantly brought up how I did not like the fucking Matrix, and he better let us write about what we wanted to or I will literally do nothing. I respect this film, it just isn't for me, but if I am made to watch anything about it, I am filled with rage that I can barely describe. I think that set a record for the most run-on sentences
My
in a Letterboxd
God.
review.
The whole time I was like trying to find it, and I was just like, I could not believe how long you were going. I was like,
I'm sorry.
Is
That's
this
why I
like,
said we could only do one because the rest were short.
yeah, that's
I
like
think.
that makes up like 10 reviews. My goodness.
Oh wait, no, this is a short one written by shout out Caitlin Smith. Half a star. Just get off the internet. A movie full of incels and bad parkour.
These Letterboxd reviews are wild.
They're unhinged, and that's why they're amazing. Dude, this one's
How
short
far did
too.
you how far did you scroll down on the half stars?
Oh, dude, I read so many. My favorite, absolutely terrible, makes me sick. I would rather die than watch this again. Makes no sense. And it's stupid and nerdy. If I could give it negative stars, I would.
Jeez. Just
Okay.
imagine hating a movie that much, let alone like a good movie.
These are so funny. Some of them are so long. Oh my god. All right. Shall we get into our own scores for this movie and then wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We probably went longer than we should, but guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Either way, yeah. So I'm gonna give the first Matrix just a clean 9 out of 10. Just a clean 9. Dude,
Solid.
What would you?
I thought it was gonna be higher. I'll be honest, but I'm gonna go.
Did you feel like I thought this was a 10?
Yeah, I saw a 5 on your Letterboxd.
That was what I gave it the last time I watched it, but this time obviously watching through probably more of a creative lens instead of a passive lens. Yeah, it some of the goofier elements, Keanu's acting kind of took me out of it a few times, and you're right, some of it is a little too overly cheesy, but I don't know, I vibe with it a lot.
Oh yeah, here you updated 4.5. All right.
Yep, 4.5. 9 out of 10.
I'm going with an 8.2.
An 8.2 out of 10.
Yep.
Okay, I respect it. I know I said I had a bone to pick because I knew that you had 4 stars on your Letterboxd, and I think this is probably a case of if you had more of a relationship with this movie, you probably would give it a 9. Like if you had watched this when you were younger and had more like time with it, you may have it in higher regard, but maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. It's tough, but no, an 8.2 is totally fair. So yeah, what do you want me to go for the second one first as well?
No, I'll go first on the second one.
All right, take the lead on that one.
So I'm gonna land on a 5.2 for this one.
5.2. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, I feel like a dick now. I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 10.
Hey, that's pretty close.
It is. I thought you were gonna go lower, and then you would feel like the dick. I just think this movie. I like to think too that when it comes to art films, like indie art house stuff, A24 movies, I don't exactly factor in rewatchability as much. Like if the film is clearly trying to go for more of like, some movies are a one-time experience and you don't need to watch them again. Some movies they're like emotionally taxing to watch. So, but a movie that's like a sci-fi epic, like a blockbuster action film, like The Matrix Reloaded, I don't see myself ever like wanting to watch this again.
Yeah.
Other than like the "Where's my pussy" line, I don't know.
No, I'm good on this. Like this is fun. I could just not watch this film ever again.
I don't need this. This is a case of I wish that The Matrix just had one movie, because I think the first one is kind of perfect as it is. It does have some minor flaws that do take you out of it a bit, but it does its thing. It leaves. The story's concluded. Where do you go from here? The classic Superman problem. What do you do when your character has the powers of a god? How do you make it interesting? And the answer is you don't, because not once in this movie do you ever feel like Neo's in any danger, right?
No, not at all.
I don't know.
Not at all.
Yeah, so now I don't remember what happens in the third film. I mentioned to Josh before the podcast, I've rewatched the first film quite a few times, but I have not seen the sequel since I was a child. So I don't really remember what goes on in the third one, but where are we left at? Neo has the powers of a god inside and outside of the Matrix. If you die in the Matrix now, Neo can just restart your heart. The
only
architect,
the one, yeah. Well, I was gonna say that only like one survivor, and it was the guy that tried to stab Neo, is alive, and he's like laying. Next to him.
One survivor, he's right there. They don't know he's a traitor, and then the architect basically told us that the story we're watching doesn't matter because worst case scenario, they can just reboot the Matrix again. So that's fun. That's cool. Excited to see where that goes. Leaves us with a lot of options. So catch us next time over on Franchise Deep Dive, where we are going to be tackling Matrix 3 and 4, which are the Matrix Revolution and the Matrix Resurrections.
Can't wait.
All right.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about them because I had a fun time with these discussions. I felt like they were insightful, and we still squirted in some jokes. Why did I say squirted? That's just
Oh God, yeah, that's
that's
interesting.
terrible.
We should keep that in here.
100%, we're keeping it all, baby, except for the technical issues. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. At the time of recording, I don't know why I'm mentioning this, but we don't have any of our social media set up yet. So I'll most likely at the beginning of this or at the end of it insert one of us, myself or Josh, basically plugging our social media so you can follow us over there.
Hey guys, this is future Jake interrupting past Jake and letting you guys know that you can follow us over on Franchise Deep Dive on Instagram. You can also follow our Facebook page, Franchise Deep Dive, but we'll most likely be active on Instagram. So feel free to reach out to us over there and yeah, give us a like and follow.
But in terms of this podcast, Franchise Deep Dive, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and here on YouTube on my channel, Former Film Student. And I don't really do social media, so I'm not going to plug my social media because I don't do that anymore. I don't post, and I deleted them. So catch me not on there. But obviously, if you guys are watching this or listening to this on YouTube and you like this kind of content, you like listening to us talk about it, make sure to subscribe here, where we will be posting every other week. I don't know, we haven't decided on Mondays or Fridays yet. I'm leaning more towards Monday, so it's either going to be every other Monday or every other Friday. But follow us here, follow us on Spotify, follow us on Apple Podcasts. Then, hey, if you like my voice specifically, subscribe to this YouTube channel to also just hear me talk about movies and shows. And I'd also like to bring Josh on just some videos in the future that are not associated with the podcast. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Well, hey, man, I don't really have much to plug. I mean, feel free to give me a follow on Instagram. You can find me at Joshi_124. Joshi spelled with an IE. That's pretty much all I use, and I honestly hardly use it. So, honestly, do what you want there. But that's pretty much all I got. This was a lot of fun. Cannot wait to talk about Matrix 3 and 4. But yeah, hope you guys continue to tune in.
Yeah, guys. Stay tuned for more franchises. We will, in the next episode, obviously, tell you guys what franchise we are delving into next as we wrap up the Matrix franchise. But I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Probably went a little longer than expected, but we had to get our intros out of the way, let you know a little bit about ourselves, the dynamic, and why we started this podcast. But I'm excited to delve into these franchises a little bit more. I'm curious to see the budgets for Matrix 3 and 4 because I assume they're higher.
Yeah.
Who knows? So we'll get into that and all on the next episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh. Goodbye.
So long.